This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're looking for to build a brand new computer or you're looking to make an older one perform better with a new hard drive, more RAM, upgrade a processor, something like that, Newegg is the place to go. They've got all of the parts, and they run daily deals, including a GTX 1070 Ti on sale right now for $359. Like I said, those are daily deals, though. They change all the time. And to find out what deals are available and to see all of the parts, pieces, and systems, you can go to pilchpoint.live/Newegg. So, sometimes when you're fixing or upgrading a computer, things don't exactly go as planned, right, Avram?
Definitely not. So this week, our excellent senior editor, Tom's Hardware, Sharon Harding, worked on a story and published a story about like the crazy stuff that tech refurbishers have seen. And, it could have as well been, what tech repair people have seen. But when you're refurbishing stuff, you get things that people just kind of dumped off. And so the people aren't around to sort of answer for the crazy stuff that they've done to their computer. And so it's worse, right? So, I'm curious to hear, stories from anybody else, from anyone else who has experience, because I'm sure we all have some things. But my favorite one of these stories that she collected, and you can read the story right now on topshardware.com homepage, Hidden Guns and Vermin, PC Refurbishing Nightmares. Someone at a tech refurbishing company found a loaded gun in the 5-inch drive bay of a computer.
I'm sorry. I must have had something crazy in my ear. Can you repeat that?
They found a loaded gun in the 5-inch drive bay, like in the slot where the optical drive would normally be if you had one. Now, unfortunately, it was not in. There was not an actual optical drive that it was in, because that would have been cooler. Like, if someone had modified the optical drive to be like a gun rack or something, and you just hit the button and like your pistol just kind of pops out or something of its slot.
That would be pretty interesting.
Although you had to have a pretty small gun, I guess, for that. But anyway, yes. So they found a loaded gun in there. I think they alerted the police, but I don't think they ever found out what it was doing there, whether the person was just hiding it there for self-defense or whether they maybe were. I don't think that's a very good self-defense use of it, because you'd have to get the case off to get it out.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great place.
So you'd have to get the panels off the case off to get it out. Plus, I mean, I don't know. I'm not very experienced with guns, but do you want to load a gun in something where when you're taking the panels off, you might shake it? I mean, I guess as long as the safety is off, it's okay. But, generally, I don't think you want to be shaking around a loaded gun. So I don't know. I think that could have been a murder weapon. Isn't that sort of like the perfect, like, how to dispose of your murder weapon? You put it inside a computer, and then you send the computer off to the dump or whatever, but somehow it got intercepted and ended up in the refurbished store. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a weird chain of events right there, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, now that is not the only thing that has gotten inside of computers. They've also found chicken wings and other forms of food. Chicken wings, fast food wrappers, and silverware. Worse, they found live cockroaches in living in the cases. And when they opened them, the cockroaches inhabited the office of the refurbishers. So I'm not going in the refurbishing business, no matter what happens.
Yeah, no thanks.
I wasn't exactly thinking about it, but if it came up, no. They also found, although this was not technically in the case, they've definitely they found a colony of rodents in a bunch of keyboard packages, and people have found dead rodents and rodent droppings in the cases. Uh, there,
Ugh.
you know, there was another case where somebody had taken a hacksaw to the case so they could get a full size card into a half size slot. Or so the half no, the slot was full size. The slot's always full. It was a mini ATX. Was it like a mini ITX case or something?
Yeah, yeah.
But they couldn't. I guess they said that they couldn't get a like a small card, so they got the full card. They somehow put a hacksaw to the case so it would stick out. I wish we had a picture of that, but they didn't have one.
Yeah,
for us.
right. I'd love a picture of that.
What we do have pictures of, though, are computers that were in a fire that they were able to restore, like a tough book. And there's another refurbisher we talked to that actually takes things, PCs that have bullet holes in them from being literally in war zones, and refurbishes them for the military.
Wow.
And so like they have to deal with things like the screen on a laptop has been blown off by a bullet hole. Now, to me, it seemed like, well, why don't you just buy a new laptop? Because the cost of replacing that is probably fairly expensive, because they said it actually cost them something like $1,500 to refurbish a laptop that has been in a war zone, been shot up. But I think they told Sharon that the actual new computer that it's replacing, because the government computer costs like $5,000, so it makes economic sense to spend the $1,500 to refurbish it.
Gotcha.
But
it's still a net win.
Yeah, but it's just crazy what people can fix. But it's more crazy what people have put into their computers. Obviously the Mac geniuses probably have some lovely stories to tell. But I don't think they're going to talk to the press. But I mean, I've heard, of course, about people bringing in Macs with cat hair in the computer and things like that. I mean, that's probably like really common. But food, things like that. I guess your computers are everywhere. Now, you've had some experience with this. What was the craziest thing you've seen in a computer?
Well, it's not a personal story, thank goodness. But I worked with a guy when I was at Radio Shack who had been around when they still did like repairs in store, and he said that this guy brought in a VCR, so that should age it pretty well. He brought it.
My father still has one he would bring in.
Fair enough. He brings in a VCR, and it is wrapped up in like a towel that looks like it has seen a lot of years in a house with a cigar smoker, because it's like there's that weird yellow brown stainy color. And so he puts it down on the counter, and Tim looks at it and goes, "There's nothing good comes out of what's happening here." But he doesn't say it to the guy. And so he walks over to the counter, and he said there was a smell coming from the VCR that he could not identify, but he knew it was horrible. So he opens up the towel and he looks, and the VCR is wet. Not like it's been dropped in a pool or something, but there's definitely a liquid shimmer to the body. He's like thinking to himself, where is my day heading? So the guy says, the VCR is not working, whatever. Can we repair it? And Tim says, well, let me pop the case off real quick and take a look, and we'll see what's going on and try and decide whether it's worth fixing or just replacing. And so Tim pops the couple screws out of the back, pulls the case off, and out comes, he says, at least 100 cockroaches. And they scattered. So the liquid shimmer that was on the case and the smell that he could not identify but knew he recognized was Raid. The guy had tried to kill the roaches. He knew they were in there. It's why the towel was on it, to keep them in. And somehow did not think that bringing it to a place to repair it would let them loose. So the store had to be like totally fumigated because they were everywhere. And he said it was the worst experience working in a store. He worked in a store that was literally firebombed during a riot, and he said, nope, the roaches were worse.
Well, yeah, because how are you gonna? It's hard to get rid of, that.
Yeah, exactly. At least with the fire, they basically knew what they were getting into, right? They had to replace fixtures and things like that. But with the roaches, where are they? For how many years are we going to find the results of this very strange day?
Yeah. Oh man, I feel so bad for them. The fact of that is why I would, oh man.
I was glad that repairs stopped happening in store by the time I started there.
Yeah.
We put them in a box and sent them away. Bloop, let somebody else deal with them. And I'm pretty sure Tim's experience has at least something to do with that. Gross. Anyway, that's my story. It's secondhand, but it's terrible.
Now, this is not to warn you. I just want to say one last thing. Every company that we talked to said that when they saw this kind of thing in a computer, they did not try to resell it. They did not try to save any parts from it. They went straight to... They said it went to recycling. I feel bad for the recycler, though. I probably should. That's the kind of hazardous waste that probably should just go to the dump. I mean, but anyway, they did not try to save it after that. That's what they say, and I tend to believe that's true because they probably didn't want to touch it.
Exactly. You're like, nope, I'm moving on.
Yeah, they probably didn't want to touch it. It's not worth it.
I remember Tim saying that he didn't even say anything to the guy. He just picked it up by the towel and took it to the dumpster. And he came back in and said, it's over? There's nothing that can be done for it. It's in the dumpster. It's gone. The end. So I can't imagine any other end to a thing like that. If you find, maybe the gun computer might be a different story, but certainly it's not like that leaves pieces behind. But animals dead or alive, things.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
The gun computer probably would be perfectly fine when you think about it.
Yeah, that one's probably okay. The weapon itself might be evidence, but
yes.
But the computer probably is fine.
Yeah.
All right. So if we want to see these photos, Avram, where can we go?
Go to tomshardware.com, and on the homepage, you will see our refurbishing nightmare story.
Wonderful and terrible all at once, because gross.
I encourage everyone in the comments on that article to share on our social media to share your crazy PC stories. If you've refurbished something or you've found something crazy in a PC, I would love to hear about it.
Awesome. I am definitely going to go check out both the comments on the site and on like Facebook and see other people's stories, because that sounds like fun. All right. Well, both thank you, and that was terrible. It is, however, nice to know that Tim is not the only one who has had to suffer through something that bizarre. So thank you for that, Avram.
That's this. Now, if I was Tim Cook of Apple or something, I would, or someone else from Apple does those iPad commercials, like what's a PC, what's a computer, or whatever. Like, maybe this is their argument. Like, the roaches can't possibly live in an iPad.
Yeah. You know why we seal the iPad?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about this stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
terrible. Well, I suppose thank you for that, although gross.